Welcome, everyone, to this episode of School on a Mission. I'm Gina Watts, here with my wonderfully wise and just always looking great with his gray hair. The one, the only Andrew McPeak.
Oh, thank you. So glad to be here.
I'm glad you are too. If you believe school should be more than just essays and GPAs, if you believe EQs are just as important as IQs, and if you expect amazing things from the next generation, then you're in the right place, because we believe that too.
Absolutely, we do. And friends, today's episode dives into a topic that I would say often gets talked about, but rarely gets the systems level attention that it deserves, and that is school culture and climate. Because when students and staff feel safe, seen, and supported, it creates a solid foundation for wellness, and we're going to explore that today.
All right, so let's dive into our question of the day. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay. What's one small change you've made in your school or workplace that helped others feel more connected or cared for?
You want me to go first?
I think you should.
More connected or cared for. So I'll tell you what I thought of was right after COVID happened, we obviously spent a lot of time on our computers.
Yeah. And
it led to us making several hires where we didn't really care about their location. And so pre-COVID, 100% of our staff was in the office. Post-COVID, we were like 50-50.
Wow.
And as soon as some people came back to the office, immediately we noticed a shift where those who were in the office felt more connected to one another.
Right.
And those who were sitting alone in their home offices all over the United States started feeling less connected. So I actually had a team member who reached out to me and just said, "Hey, I'm feeling lonely right now." And I think that other people are too. And so myself and another one of our vice presidents here decided, well, what if we came up with like a time where everybody could get together? And we did it on a day where even our in-office team was actually remote, because we have a remote day. So we created Friday coffee and conversation, 45 minutes just before lunch. And there was always a question of the day, very much like the question of the day that we do. And in fact, it was one of the things that inspired this, doing this question of the day for this podcast. And so we included that, and it was silly questions like, what fast food franchise has the best French fries, which turns out is a hotly debated topic. But who knew? You don't know unless you bring that up. And so throwing that question out, connecting with our friends who are online. And sometimes there were times when we made it optional. So sometimes it was 3 people showed up, sometimes 12 people showed up, and it was awesome. But that created not only connection, but it also helped the staff members who were remote feel like we cared about them. We were thinking about them, and we were making an effort to connect with them. So that's what came to mind.
No, that's a great example. So I've worked in 2 environments, one being fully in person and now being 92% remote, right?
Yeah.
And so I personally just had to like make some hard shifts. I'm a people person, even though I'm an introvert who gets energized from quiet alone time. I do love to care for people, and I love them to know that I care for them. And so acts of service is really important to me. And you can do that simply when you're in the same building with people.
Yep, you're right there.
But when you're not, it's kind of difficult. And a gift card isn't always the best way to go, even though my teams know that's my jam. So
you are friends with gift cards.
I am friends with gift cards. So I think one of the things that I've done that's small is I do not believe that people are over the thoughtfulness and the gift of handwritten letters. I think that people tend to be very surprised when I send a handwritten letter because they're not used to getting mail. Unless their mother is Janet Jones, and I know that she only has 2 children. So my mom sends handwritten letters to her grandkids and children and nieces and nephews, but not many people do that. Yeah. So I think people knowing they're connected, cared for and connecting to them, I think even a small thing as writing a letter has been transformational.
So good.
Yeah.
So simple, but so powerful.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Just takes time.
Love that.
Andrew, I love hearing from you and just reflecting on my own experiences about how we drive connection. And we've seen that connection can be contagious when you do the work.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, today's guest is someone whose work is all about creating that emotional connection at scale. Tyree Rivers is the climate and culture systems consultant for Columbus City Schools. That is the largest district in Ohio, and she is responsible for helping them serve over 46,000 students in 113 schools. A Helen Jenkins Davis Award recipient, Tyree has deep experience in education and student support. She's committed to building emotionally safe, relationally rich environments where both students and teachers thrive. Her insight and care make her a transformative presence in every space she leads. We're so grateful to learn from Tyree about how to design and sustain school cultures where everyone can flourish. Let's hear about Tyree's journey in education.
Yes, Gina. Hi, thank you for having me. I have been an educator for probably the past, I'm going to get a little graciousness here, like 2.5+ decades. So I think I have a few more years in there, kind of lifelong. I've always wanted to be an educator, like ever since high school. I began my career with Columbus City Schools, which is a large urban district in Central Ohio, the largest. And from there, I think I just fell into a passion of just working with and wanting to create opportunities for people to connect, to learn, to grow, and giving them access to be able to do that. And almost like a conduit, bringing people together and learning in that space, whether it's adults, families, and staff. And just a little bit personally about myself. I'm a mother of 3. I have a senior this year. I had a graduate this past year from Capital University. And another student, another son, he is actually at school, the University of Cincinnati. So he's studying communications, and he has a little background in sign language too. So, and happily married to my loving husband, Marlon Rivers. I think we're going on 27 years. 27 years, knock on wood.
Okay, Gina. I am in awe of this woman. 27 years of marriage, 3 amazing kids, lifelong commitment to education. I feel like most days I cannot remember what I had for lunch.
No kidding. And can we talk about the scale of what Tyree is managing? I mean, Columbus City Schools is massive.
Yeah.
It's over 46,000 students, and she's not surviving in that environment. She's thriving.
Yeah. I love how her passion for connection and access for students shines through in everything that she's doing, right? You can tell she's all about helping people, whether that's students, staff, or families, grow and thrive together.
And when you hear the path that she's taken to get here, it makes perfect sense. Tyree has an impressive resume.
Probably a lot. My first initial role was a classroom teacher. But then from a classroom teacher, just on a building level, I would say a school building level, I had the opportunity to be a team lead and do some work with our curriculum department within our school district. And then I went on to be a peer assistance and review consulting teacher. So that gave me the opportunity to work with newly hired staff to our school district, educators specifically. And educators I'm using loosely in the terms of teachers, psychologists, social workers, school nurses. So we kind of help support them in their development and their transition to the school district and navigating it. But then also veteran teachers who need some additional support. So really coaching and working with that. And it was really built in a framework with Charlotte Danielson, who talked about mentoring and coaching with teachers. And that sparked my love, I guess, with working with educators, the adults. Yeah. And then from there, been coordinators at different levels in different buildings. And now I'm at the district level. So I have a bigger impact and a bigger audience to reach in supporting staff development. And I've done a little work with the National Education Association of Educators with developing curriculum for leading teams, specializing in group staff development and educational leadership too.
Andrew, you can already tell Tyree doesn't just have experience. She has heart. She's not phoning this in. She's committed to this work on every level.
Yeah. It's that kind of commitment that makes me lean in a little more when I see it, right? Because when someone with her depth and scope of experience starts to talk about burnout and apathy and how to bring joy back to school culture, you pay attention.
Mm-hmm. You know, in this next segment, she's going to take us into the heart of what fuels her work and how she helps others reconnect to the passion that brought them into education in the first place.
I think when I look at things such as teacher burnout and the reasons for why that's actually occurring, or apathy, like how do you create a space of joy for people and help them to be able to maintain it? Like that excitement to come to work, that excitement to see students learn, that excitement just to engage with each other and process like, okay, I'm a practitioner. What can I do to hone my skills and develop them just to keep that love there? I think that's kind of what fuels my desire. And I love to see people like get it and grow. So tapping into like skills that they already have and then meeting them where they are and saying, where would you like to go in this journey? And how can I help you get there if you want me to be a part of your journey? So always opening that invitation and being approachable to say, we can do this together. And just sustaining that passion and excitement for being an educator. I think it's something that fuels me. And I hope it's contagious with like fueling others within their work.
Tyree's passion for helping educators stay connected to their why is so inspiring to me. It's a reminder that sustaining joy in this work isn't just possible, it's powerful.
You know, I noticed that she keeps coming back to this sense of like togetherness. You know, whether it's a classroom, a school building, or a district, Tyree sees every environment as a place where people grow best when they feel seen and valued and supported.
Can we also just talk about like when she talks? I just feel like I'm on the edge of my seat too. Such good stuff.
All right. So next, she's going to unpack the key ingredients for building a culture that's not just productive, but resilient and also relational.
I think one of the things when I first started teaching, and I think it's just been a thread that's woven through, I had this administrator and her name was Dr. Marvinia Bosley. Awesome sauce. That's all I can say about her. But what she did with the staff at our first staff orientation, like with students that welcomed them to the building that first year, is she introduced everyone by name and shared their role to every family member that was there in the auditorium. And it was from the custodial staff to our cafeteria workers, to our teaching assistants, to the teachers on the front line in the classroom, to those who were also supporting. She had everyone there. And then she was like, we're a family. And that kind of stuck with me. And my first team, they kind of nurtured me and they were a family. Like they took care of you. They looked out for you. They knew if I was having a baby, they knew me beyond the scope of my work and saw me as an individual. But then the other thing that Dr. Bosley did is she empowered us to take some initiative of your career. I don't have to tell you, Tyree, every single thing to do at every single moment. You are a professional, you're licensed. What do you think is best for you and your students to be successful in that space? So one, relationships. No matter what people's role are, recognizing that we're all contributing to the success of our students. We're all contributing to the success of our staff and the well-being of our staff. How we show up is so important because it doesn't just impact us, it impacts everyone around us. And if we want to have a contagious spirit that is motivational, inspirational, resilient, having that grit, then we have to be that too. We can't just force it onto other people. And then also just to acknowledge like the different roles and show people that they're valued and appreciated and actually say it. Because sometimes just like a simple good morning, just acknowledging the presence of someone, it takes nothing. Just a hi, how are you? Or good morning. Like just stopping to do that, that could lift somebody's day because you never know. And I think COVID taught me a big lesson too, is that we don't all experience things the same. When COVID has shut everything down, I was like happy as punch. I'm at home. I can be a mom. I can do this. I can be an educator. I was just, but then when I listened to other people's stories, some people were lonely. Some people felt isolated. Like they did not experience, we all didn't experience that in the same way. However, there were some lessons to learn to really listen to what people are experiencing and be open to hearing their stories and be open to protecting their stories too. So if they share something to you in confidentiality, keep it, maintain it, unless they give you permission to share it. So just recognizing the humanness that we all bring to the table and that connection of relationships. We do, as educators, relationships every single day. How we build them, how we form them, how we connect with our students is so important for how we show up and how we nurture them. Um, it just gets at the heart of me when people say, oh, it doesn't matter about relationships. We just have to continue to educate kids. But it does matter how you connect with them. And we should be not only connected to our students, but our team members who are helping us to lift the work with the students too.
She said, we do relationships every day. And that's true for all of us. We do relationships every day. It's such a simple statement, but wow, it carries so much weight. She's reminding us that whether we're teaching or we're leading or we're serving, behind the scenes, we're all shaping the culture by how we show up.
Yeah. So it's not just one person's job, it's everybody's job, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's also important to note her point about acknowledging the whole person, right? Not just what somebody does, but who they are, their identity fundamentally, right? That good morning hallway check-in thing, it feels small, but it could be the one thing maybe that day that makes somebody feel seen.
Now that you say that, I wonder if that's what I should have said when we opened up with the question of the day.
Yeah.
Is one of the things that in any place I've ever worked is everybody must say good morning. Even if you're not a morning person, you have to acknowledge one another.
Yeah.
I think that creates such a culture of connection and a desire to see and know each other.
I 100% agree.
One-on-one and as a community. Well, next up, Tyree's going to take us even deeper because connection doesn't happen without intention. And sometimes it means stretching yourself a little to create it. Let's hear how Tyree makes that practical.
Because it's so easy to be invisible. And it's so easy to feel like one of my colleagues says, lonely in a room full of people. So like, how do you make those connections? You have to talk, you have to communicate. And sometimes I like to put on a persona of my husband and you have his outgoing in your face personality. Like, I'm like, I want to be Marlon Rivers today, but it helps. It's like, who are you going to be today? Because who you are and how you really show up, it makes a difference. And it's like impacting you, but again, it's impacting other people too.
That line, lonely in a room full of people.
Yeah.
That's just too real. I think so many of us have been there, especially in schools where the pace is nonstop. You can be surrounded by people and still feel completely unseen.
It happens every day, right? It's so real. In fact, somebody listening to this might even be like, yeah, been there, done that, right? And Tyree is challenging us here. She's reminding us that connection doesn't just happen, right? You've got to talk. You've got to communicate. Sometimes that means stepping outside of your comfort zone, even being a little more outgoing than you like to be normally, right? And initiating a conversation.
And let's be honest, Andrew, sometimes that means channeling your inner Marlon Rivers, as Tyree pointed out, right? Yeah. Her husband. Her point is who you choose to be in the room makes a real difference. So as educators and leaders, maybe the takeaway here is to pick someone up with a hello, to ask a teammate how they're doing, and to create space for people to feel seen. I, like our listeners, were wondering how Tyree scales this work for such a large district. The wait is over because she's going to tell us just how she does that.
A little bit about it is, I think within our school district, we've adopted some things to kind of help shape how we work. So like being formalized with it. Formalized, I like to say, is it written and is it adopted? And is it followed? Like looking at those things. So we've looked at some evidence-based strategies to kind of help us with outlining frameworks. And then adopting some practice. So like one of the things that we have adopted and are implementing in phases is restorative practices. And I like to think of, and I'm using International Institute of Restorative Practices definition, where it's the science of community and relationships. And again, it gets back to the heart of what you do. Like we've probably done restorative practices in some type of sense where we bring people into community and then being intentional about the practices that we're doing. Like, how are we doing that? Is there a similar way for how we bring people in? So you might see within our school district community circles where people are just checking in with each other and it's just building community. You might hear of a strategy that's called 2x10 and it's listed on a lot of intervention research spaces, but it's just a strategy where you spend 2 minutes for 10 days getting to know somebody beyond their job, beyond academics, so that you know who they are as a person. And developing at the root of it, you're developing relationships. And then when you develop relationships, I would say healthy. And healthy doesn't always mean happy, but healthy, because conflict will arise in some way, or there may be some unintentional harm that gets done. Do you just ignore it and let it fester? Or do you have a space of entry where you can actually come in and say, hey, let's sit down and talk about this. Let's see if we can come to some type of resolution or some type of space where we can move forward. So when harm's been created, we have strategies in place to say, this is how we could possibly move forward with this. And I'm not saying that this is the all be all answer for things, but it's a formalized way that we can adopt district wide in order to have a framework for how we engage and build relationships, and then how we can sustain them and repair them when harm has occurred. Just to give people that entryway. And it does require a little bit of vulnerability, because you got to reveal, who are you? What do you believe? What are your values? Because all of those, I think it's Margaret Wheatley, she talks about the invisible knapsack. Like everything that we've done in our life is it's woven into us and how we interact with people. And then what is that common starting ground? Where can we find some common ground? And having frameworks that are evidence-based, research-based, and appropriate for your district. So making sure that you're adapting things and tweaking them so that they work for your climate and culture. Because what we do in one school, it may not be the best thing for every single school, but it may work for us. But giving the people at least the bones of it so that they have the training, they have some practice, and then ongoing staff development to help them sharpen those skills around those areas. And that is actually embedded into things like their staff handbook, their student handbook, how they engage with families, how we welcome people into our space. When harm has occurred, whether it is a disagreement with staff, disagreement with students, behavioral conflicts, whatever it may be, do we have an entry space for it in a formalized way for how we address it?
You know, Andrew, it is so refreshing to hear someone formally prioritize relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, written, adopted, and followed. Be still my system-loving heart.
I knew you were going to like that part. I knew it. But seriously, what Tyree is laying out here is huge, because creating a healthy culture doesn't just mean we avoid conflict, right? It means we're equipped to deal with it when it happens. And that takes more than good intentions.
Right. It takes frameworks, that these frameworks being built on evidence, but flexible enough to fit the local context.
Yeah.
And human enough to invite vulnerability. I think sometimes we see something or read something and we're like, oh, that's amazing. It either won't work here, or we tried to do it exactly the way it was written and think it's a failure.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's got to be flexible and it's got to be vulnerable. Healthy isn't always happy, but it is honest, it's restorative, and it's rooted in real care.
Yeah, yeah. And it got me thinking, it doesn't just apply to schools, right? Whether you're on a team, you're a team leader, a mentor, or just navigating a friendship with one of your friends, right? What Tyree is talking about here gives all of us a roadmap for repairing harm without letting it define the relationship.
Speaking of relationships, Tyree gets super practical in this next segment. Because let's be honest, being able to name what you're feeling in the middle of a hard moment, that's not just for students. That's a skill every adult needs as well.
And I would even say too, like on a small scale, just being able to name your emotions and like a challenge for all educators, adults, being able to name it and then express it so that you're not causing harm to someone, like giving people tools to actually do that and practice it because it just doesn't happen overnight. So it's like you have to practice these things because it does happen. Like if you have a class that's like, I don't know, that it's hard to get their attention. Like, how does that make you feel? Like if you're feeling ignored and no one's listening to you, or if it's you got everybody's attention and you're like, oh my goodness, no learning is occurring in here. Like, how does that make you feel? How do you have those conversations with your students or with another adult? Because it's making you feel some type of way. And versus shutting yourself off and isolating yourself, be able to identify what that emotion is, what the behaviors are, and then what you need to make it stop or what you need to change the situation and verbalizing it and asking for help.
I love how Tyree just gave us permission to say what's real.
Yeah.
Whether it's frustration, overwhelmed feelings, or even the sense that things aren't working, right? Being able to name it is the very first step in changing it.
Tyree reminded us that this isn't about getting it perfect. It's about getting it out, naming the emotion, the behavior, and the support that might help.
This kind of emotional clarity in communication and relationships, it takes practice. Nobody has this figured out overnight, right? It's not natural for most of us to stop, assess how we're feeling, and communicate how we're feeling really well, especially when we're in the middle of a mess, right?
But it's so worth it. It's like working out and building muscles that you didn't know you needed to build, right?
Yeah.
It's the kind of honest communication, not that not only prevents harm, but it builds trust, right? Tyree's going to talk to us now about another practical thing. She's going to give us advice on how to be a culture shifter without burning yourself out.
I would say choose one. Okay, so a couple things I'm thinking. I had like a flood of ideas come into my mind, but one would is to be a change agent yourself. So instead of thinking about how can I change everyone and everything around me, be like, what can I do? Like, what am I doing and what can I do? So be the change you want to see daily. And then the other piece is start small. Like, don't try to bite off everything. Like, find things that you naturally want to gravitate to and find people who want to do those things also so that you're not fighting people, pulling them along. Like find people who want to get in that journey with you and paddle that boat. Like who's going to be in your boat with you? I always like to ask people like when I'm in team meetings or whatever, I'm like, okay, I have this project coming up. Who wants to be in my sandbox? Because I need some team players to come play with me with this. Like, who's willing to work with you? And then work with those people, like find those spaces. And one more space is in order to keep it from being sticky, because it gets sticky, be willing to change the conversation. So if there are negative comments coming up and being made about a particular person, a certain group, whatever it is, reshape and reframe that conversation so that we can turn it around to something that's productive and positive or productive and healthy. Because if we get stuck in the negative, we're going to live in the negative, and it's easy to go there. But be brave enough to step in that space and shift that conversation and perspectives, or offer it a different perspective and insight to give people food for thought. Because the humanness is what's making it sticky. And then what are we willing to adapt and change? Like, what are we willing to link ourselves to and continue that work?
So many gold nuggets. Tyree keeps dropping them everywhere. I have so many notes. There's just no room.
You are a legendary note taker, Gina.
I can't help it.
She is bringing fantastic information, tools, including the encouragement to be the change you want to see, right? Instead of trying to fix everything and everyone, what if we just started with ourselves?
And I love the idea of finding your sandbox, right? Gathering the people who are ready to build something good with you instead of dragging folks who aren't yet ready.
Yeah, precisely. Starting small, start where there's energy, focus on what's actually in your control. Even if all you can control today is your attitude or how you respond in a tough moment, like that still matters.
It really does. Tyree's perspective is such a needed reminder. Real change doesn't start with a district-wide plan. It starts with how we show up, who we invite in, and what we choose to shape.
I think the advice that we give is to really be willing to develop relationships. Because you have to have an entry point for a point of connection, no matter what your role is. Like, who can you connect with? And then maybe a better question is, who are you not connecting with? And being intentional about connecting with individuals or groups or people in order so that you can build relationships and that you have a perspective that's just not for people in your affinity group. Like you're opening your perspective, have a diverse perspective. So just be willing to listen sometimes. Share what you have to share, definitely. But then have the humility to step back and listen. Have the humility to step back and let other people lead. And have the humility to just give grace and space for people to make mistakes and then be willing to make up for them too and make it right. I think that's where I would be.
Gina, I think I just wrote down 5 new podcast episode ideas, and all she was doing was wrapping up.
Easily. Honestly, we might just need a whole mini series. Tea with Tyree.
Tea with Tyree. I like that. Yeah. But for real, that change to ask not just who I am connecting with, but who I am not connecting with. So important.
It is. And I'm also remembering that what she said about humility, letting others lead, listening with intention, and owning our mistakes is something that all schools need. And we also need it more on our teams. And culture doesn't just happen. It's built moment by moment. Tyree reminded us that it's okay to take small steps to practice. It's okay to get it wrong as long as we keep trying to get it right. It's that resilience factor, that getting back up again factor.
Yeah.
So if you're not sure where to begin, remember Tyree's encouragement to start small. Say hello, get in a sandbox. So you might be starting small, but definitely just start.
Yeah. Well, obviously, this goes without saying, but we're incredibly grateful to Tyree Rivers for giving us not just practical tools, but also a vision of what's possible when we lead with intention and heart. And we hope you listeners are walking away from this episode encouraged, inspired, and maybe even ready to build something beautiful right where you are, right? Tyree deposited so much wisdom. We're still just letting it sink in. In fact, Gina, I got so much information, so many good ideas. I don't know what to do with them.
Well, it means that it's a perfect time for one of our favorite parts of our show. It's time for DMI. That stands for Don't Miss It. Andrew and I will each highlight something from today's episode that we don't think you should miss. Andrew.
Am I on the hot seat?
Hot seat.
Well, we've both said how many great things she said. So, many things she said are deserving. The one that's sticking with me as I think back over her words was when she said it's better for relationships to be healthy than happy. I've spent a lot of time getting developed as a leader. I've been really, really grateful to have all the opportunities I've had. And I remember years ago, we were working with a leadership consultant who talked about how a great sign that a leadership team is healthy is that there is conflict. And I thought, what are you talking about? I thought conflict means something is unhealthy.
Right.
And he was like, no, right? When there's healthy conflict, meaning an issue is brought forward with honesty and clarity, it is addressed in the room and it is resolved and nobody walks away and talks behind each other's backs, that is the healthiest sign
That's good.
of a leadership team. And so when she said that, I thought immediately back to that, and I thought she's exactly right.
Yeah.
Right? Us focusing on making our relationships healthy, even if it means that for a short time they're not very happy, right? Is one of the best investments we can make, right? So when we experience conflict, we handle it immediately, but with care. And I think when it comes to especially those challenging moments in relationships, I don't think you can give better advice than that.
That was a gold nugget for sure. And, I think especially in our current society, it is all about what makes us happy.
Yeah.
What makes us feel good,
100%.
not necessarily about what's the healthiest for us. And healthy doesn't mean whatever's the new trend or fad, but like what truly is healthy for our soul, for our spirit. That's just, that's a good one. All right.
What do you got?
Tyree shared a story about one of her mentors who took the time at the beginning of the school year and introduced every single staff member from every single position to all of the parents and all of the students. And,
including the janitor.
Exactly. Everybody, every position. And so for me, it reminds me of a philosophy that John Maxwell teaches about put a 10 on everyone's head. And a part of connection means that that you demonstrate regularly and consistently that everybody is valued. And to be introduced in a space where you're typically overlooked or you're not included in the planning process of the event or experience does not bode well for connection, right? Because how am I going to want to connect with people when I'm already starting from like a bad position because my own leader doesn't recognize me or include me in things. And so when Tyree shared that story about her mentor doing that, I was thinking about how grateful I've been in my life and career that I can tell you every person who worked in facilities, security, all of the unseen positions from every single job I have ever had. Because my mom, like my parents just raised us that way. Like we just always were in relationship with everyone. And I know that most people haven't been, had that kind of upbringing or formed that way. And I think for our listeners, I think one of the things that's super important is that Tyree's mentor wasn't just doing that to add value to the folks by having their name said one time a year. She was teaching the students and the families and the other staff how to treat each other. Because she's saying, I see all of you, you all better see all of you.
Yep.
Right?
This is who we are and
exactly.
What we do.
We are a family, we are a team, and we all are going to operate as one in order to be successful. And so I just, that was a good one. That was some gold wrapped in platinum.
No wonder she became the leader she is, watching a leader lead that way.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So good. So good. Well, friends, I hope you got as much out of this episode as Gina and I clearly did. We're both like, woo, but thank you guys for joining us. I hope you took some great notes. This has been an incredible episode of the School on a Mission podcast. But before you hit skip and go on to your next podcast, remember, we've got a little challenge for you. We want you to grab a pen, a notebook, sticky note, even if you have to, the back of your hand. And we want you to write down one action you're going to take this week. Maybe it's something you're going to do, something you're going to investigate further, something you're going to read more about, or a person you want to meet with. Whatever it is, write it down. Got it? Perfect. Now shoot us a DM with your action step. We cannot wait to see the awesome things that you're up to. Until next time, folks, stay curious, stay bold, and keep leading your school on a mission.
Thanks for listening in to this episode of School on a Mission, a podcast for educators by educators, produced by Growing Leaders and powered by the Maxwell Leadership Foundation. To learn more about Growing Leaders, visit growingleaders.com. And for more information about the School on a Mission podcast, head to schoolonamissionpodcast.com.